When will you rest finally? Asked the heavenly oracle. I hissed, like a serpent abandoned from the heavens, when I will get my revenge. The last one I'm reading is a translation I did for one of the most popular poems in Bengali literature. I think we have all read Bonalata Sen by Jivananda Das and fell in love with Bonalata at some point of our lives. There is a beautiful magazine called Matra Akshar, led by the phenomenal Mandakini Bhattacharya, who taught me how to do translations and all. So it was published in that magazine, the translation of Bonalata Sen. So taking the walk with Jivanananda with that, I have been walking these earthly roads for 1,000 years, from the Sinhal seas to the Malay waters. During the dark, I have wandered a lot in the grey world of Bindisar and Ashoka. I have been there too, even farther in the darkness, in Bedouin city. I am a tired soul. This ocean of life around me with its ebb and flow. She offered me peace for a few seconds. Natos Bonalata Sen. চারিদিকে জীবনের সমুদ্র সফেন আমাকে দুদণ্ড শান্তি দিয়েছিল নাটোরের বনলতা সেন। Her locks are like the dark nights of Vidisha. Her face, the sculptures of Shravashti. On faraway ocean, like a mariner shipwrecked and lost, who discovered green grasslands deep into the cinnamon island. I have discovered her, just like that, amidst darkness. She'd see, where are you for this long? Raising her bird nest-like eyes, Natos Bonalata Sen. পাখির নীড়ের মতো চোখ তুলে প্রশ্ন করেছে সে, এতদিন কোথায় ছিলে নাটোরে বনলতা সেন। After the day, like the sound of dewdrops, evening comes. Where's the sunshine of smell of its wings, the kite? After all earthly colors die, the manuscript preparation begins. Then for all stories, fireflies flickers and hues. All the birds come home, all the rivers, all transactions of life wrap up. Remains only darkness, and to sit face to face with Natos Bonalata Sen. সব পাখি ঘরে ফেরে, সব নদী শেষ হয় জীবনের সব লেনদেন, থাকে শুধু অন্ধকার মুখোমুখি বসিবার নাটোরের বনলতা সেন। That was my session. Thank you, Kyoto Sbenana.
Thank you, Tathagata, for this wonderful performance. We move on to our next session, which is readings by contributors from the project The Echoes of Ages, crafting stories and poems from historical events connecting with the present. We call upon one by one Miss Ridhima Sen. I don't think she's here, so we have Manmohan Sadhna. Even Manmohan Sadhna is not here. Alok Porna Das. Okay, we have Alok Porna Das for Echoes of Ages, so please put your hands together for her. Well, nobody's putting their hands together. Thank you.
I'm Alok Parna Das, and I am here from Bangalore. So last year I published a book of poetry which was in the Kolkata Boy Mela, the New Town Boy Mela last week. So there was the author's talk, so I came to attend that, and I thought this was a wonderful, another wonderful, just made a week's stay in Kolkata. So I'll not talk much further, I'll just read the poem. It's called Draupadi Nirbhai, and to give you a little context, we were asked to think about a character from the past in the present. And so I thought of Draupadi, and I guess the title gives you the rest of it. And I'm going to read it out now. Draupadi Nirbhay. Born were we of fire, my brother and I, luminous, burnished, a glorious gift of fire. Gathered were we and garnered from the pyre by our sire, destined for a magnificent future, for we were to bring to ashes the Kurus, said the Gurus. Luminous, burnished, glowing, they had no way of knowing the singed hearts we held. In fire were we welled, and a fire, said the promise, would we unleash. In that all-consuming fire, someday my brother would die, destined to kill the greatest, he and his would seize. For those born of a pyre, those destined to unleash fire, how can they live or die a death of ease? And that fire in the distant far would be my shame, my hell, my scar. But that's the tale of my other life. Born were we of a king's desire to venge, a deliberate and artful prayer for a warrior, for a slayer, for the clan's revenge. And as an afterthought, a daughter, an elusive ament. We grew up regal, royal, beauteous, duteous, rightful, righteous, each with our august shield, the fire we were yet to yield. Dusky skilled Krishna, sister of Prince Drishtadumna, blessed by goddess Kali, Yagnaseni, daughter of King Drupad, Draupadi, I, Panchali. Grew I with the naive desire of ardent love tenderness, of blushful coupled happiness, of burnishing ravishing rapture, of unrestrained ecstasy. Grew I with the naive desire that my love would weld in fire, that my love would match the glory that my birth had destined me. The hero of my story, moral, valiant, dapper, astute, humane. Too much, said Lord Shiva, though Kali gave him the eye. No mortal man can encompass all that and be alive. All those virtues I will bless her with, said Lord Shiva, but with 5. So, a holy jest, and you know the unholy rest. My promised prince, a sharp shooter, sharp archer, passed the test, won the contest in my heart. But alas, that did not suffice. That did not melt the maternal ice. A word in jest turned stone. I wedded 1, I wedded 5. I bedded 1, I bedded 5. Buy 1, get for free. My glory, my destiny. Sometimes I wondered in a haze, had the 6th brother been a part of this maze, would my heart be partitioned in 6? And these numbers in the distant far would be my shame, my hell, my scar. But that's the tale of my other life. Lived my 5 lords and I in seeming peaceful harmony. All resents, jealous vents were carefully hidden. I believed all 5 were smitten, though my heart held one above. I learned to partition my love, my sorrows, my aches, my thirst. I learned to cut me up, to show me in bursts. Share, they said, 'tis no shame. And shameful or shameless, I fractioned my heart in this heartless game. I bore them each a son, more moral, valiant, dapper, astute, humane than their fathers. But what did it matter in the end? I moved forward too fast. Let me clear out the past. 5 maids, 5 grooms, 5 lords, alas, were not enough. Alas, were not so tough when it was time to fight. Staked at the chance of dice, I, with husbands 5. Princess, queen, blessed by Kali, breathed by fire, was just a wager in the game. Oh, the shame. But wait, whose shame? Whose shame? Was I the woman dragged by her hair, blinded by her tears, burnt by her rage? Was I to take the blame? Was I too haughty, too proud, too luminous, too beautiful, too loud? Was that my shame? Was that my shame that my righteous Lord would wager me, bet me in a game? Was that my shame that my valiant Lord would lose his nerve, his strength, his power? Was that my shame that my dapper one with downcast eyes would look away? Was that my shame, my wise, kind lords unwisely, unkindly throttled their own voices? Whose shame was it when dragged by hair, The blind king in the blinded court savored my plight. No man rose, no man to fight the brute, the knave. Not one man rose, it was my fight alone with husbands 5. No brother, father, husband, son, no one came, and I, bleeding from my heart, my very core, I begged the other darker one, and he, was it another jest, a godly jest, clothed me and kept me clothed, and did not let the blood flow show. Whose shame was lost, I ask, not mine. Yet I lost the battle, I lost the game. In another life, in another time, my shame will be at stake again, and again I will lose the game, but time enough for that. In that court of shame, I held up my head and saw the bowed heads, the lowered eyes. But what of that? Born of fire, I had been singed, I had been burnt. Yet I walked away with head held high, with blood in my loins and blood in my eye, and a soul fractioned into a million pieces. But what of that? In years to come, I lost them all. At one blow, the sons who did not partition my love, the sons who loved me with their unfractioned heart. I lost those sons in the righteous war. In one stroke, in their sleep, I lost them all. And with each death, I died a million deaths. But what of that? I walked up the path with my 5 lords, the treacherous path, and I slipped and fell. Not one hand reached out to catch my call. It was because the wise one said, I had not loved them all enough. I had loved one a fraction more. Where was I headed? Did I know? Did I step into heaven? Did I see them all? And did the fifths of my heart rise up as one at the sight of the 5 lords? All of that remains a fog, remains a smog. All I remember as I fell is the acrid smell of smoke and ash. Born of flames, singed by fire, what else could I smell? I was reborn a little girl, with big dreams of big cities, big jobs. Was I destined to bring to ash the urban gurus? Answer me, you gurus. I was on my path, I dreamt my dream and walked it too. My mother too with my dream rose. It was not far, but could I not sense in the dark, in the dense, that the night was far too close? And that night, now not so far, would be my shame, my hell, my scar, the tale of the end of this life. Another day it was, it seemed. Another day that was to end, another day, another bend. I just needed to get back home. And so we said, the 2 of us, let's hope we get a homeward bus. Alas, that bus, alas, that ride. The pack of 5, or were they 6, and what of that? That night, that nightmare, my living hell, I saw the depths to which they fell. The implores, the prayers, the begging cry, all echoed in a fog-filled sky. The hell-bound bus rode out all night, and not one softened at my plight. What happened to the moral, the astute, the humane? The night poured out unbridled brutality, merciless, unrestrained inhumanity. The depredations, the violations, the horrific impellations, and my prayers and my cries did not rise through the fog and the smog and were pushed down in the bog. My shrieks and my cries did not rise to the darker one, for it was a dark night, and I lost that fight. My sole partner too, alone was he, outnumbered, outmanned, to fight this brutal band of 5 or 6. They hit him with sticks and put an end to his fight. That night, that hellish ride went on, and I was tattered from inside. I was devoured and gashed at my core, and mangled and slashed and lacerated and ravaged. And then they stopped the bus and rolled me out the door. Where was the fire then? Why did that bus not burst into flames as it rolled away? Why was I left bleeding, raped, lacerated, naked on the way? How could the night not stop the dawning of the day? What happened to Shiva and Krishna and Durga and Kali? How could they let this happen to Draupadi, to Panchali? How could they let this happen to any girl, any woman? I knew that day, that bitter, bleeding day, bleeding loins, bleeding core, bleeding innards, that what had triumphed was bloodily, gorily human. They rushed me soon after. to suture me, to sew me, but I was too torn, too torn. And I was news and all the views on every news and media channel, how they rose in every lane to bring me justice, to save me, to save my life. Too late they were, much too late, too much had I borne. They rose in every street, every lane, the moral, the valiant, the dapper, the astute, the humane. They surged in waves with candles in their hands. They met on streets and alleys. They besieged blind courts. They interrogated deaf walls. They held up their fluttering flames. But I, born of fire, singed by fire, torn asunder, burnt alive. But I, born of fire, singed by fire, torn asunder, burnt alive. My fractured, bleeding, loathing heart rose up at their mocking, fluttering flames. But what of that? I died. They gave me a new name, Nirbhai, the fearless one, as they trod on their bridge of shame. Nirbhai, the fearless one was I? Was I Panchali, blessed by Kali? Did they not hear my cries? Did they not hear my keening, howling wails? I did not want to be Nirbhai. I wanted to live a whole life. I did not want 5 lords or one. I did not want 5 butchers or one. I did not want to be singed by fire or slashed by sword. I wanted sparks, not ashes. I wanted sparkles, not gashes. They gave me a new name, Nirbhai, the fearless one, and they trod on their bridge of shame. But whose shame? Not mine. At a later date, oh, they won the fight, my kin and kith, at the court of law, a little less blind, but oh so late. And what of that? Aeons, ages apart, was I born. In both my lives I was the same. I was tossed and flung and torn asunder. In how many more births must I endure the moral, the valiant, the dapper, the astute, the humane? How many more lives will my destined fire singe me, burn me up in flames? For how many more lives will this be my shame?
Next we have, for the reading of the Echoes of Edges, we have Miss Yashodhara P. So please put your hands together for Yashodhara.
Thanks and regards to all eminent persons sitting here before me. I am Chondi Charan Das. I have 10 books in my credit, published on various topics, rhymes, poems, stories, village literature, novels, etc. And my works are regularly published in different leading newspapers and periodicals, particularly mostly in Bengali. Now, I have a story in this Echoes of Ages, the story named LAC, Line of Actual Control. The story is based on a true incident of capture of 2 Indian security men by Chinese PLA from the line of actual control during patrolling and subsequent developments this side. It particularly embarks upon on the apt handling of an officer of the consequent tension developed in the family members of one of the 2 captured men who were living in a remote village in Bihar by talking to them in their mother tongue, Maithili. I will not read the whole story, but just particularly the last half of the story. After reaching office next day, Charan had just started glancing through the incoming mails when he received a call in the PBX line. The operator said, "Sir, wife of Majas Mishra wants to talk to you. Should I connect the line?" Charan was surprised, couldn't understand why Mishra's wife wanted to talk to him. He was apprehensive if she had come to know about Mishra's disappearance in the LAC. Anyhow, he decided to take the call. As the operator connected the line, a lady asked from the other side, "Am I talking to Das sir?" "Yes, tell me what you want." After that, Charan fell in an awkward situation hearing her. She said that Misra usually talked to his mother and family members almost every week, but he didn't talk to them for last 3 weeks, for which everyone in the family was worried, particularly his old mother, who had recently undergone heart operation. Charan did not think it proper to hide the truth. He tactfully revealed the matter to her and assured of his safety and that the two officers should come back very soon. Then he also talked to Mr.'s mother in their mother tongue Maithili, which he had learned during his stint in a private company at Raurkela while working with a few colleagues from Darbhanga. He told her that her son was away on a special mission and assured her that he would contact her after return soon. After that, Charan remained engrossed in work for a few days, leaving for office early and coming back late. Following negotiation between Indian Army and the PLA, both the officers were afterwards released. Behura Sahib himself retrieved them from Maza and brought them to Itanagar with him by helicopter. After that, Misra went on leave to his hometown and Gimba, the other man, to nearby Zero, his native town. After about a month, one morning Charan was surprised to see Misra visiting him at his residence and handing him over a packet of homemade sweets sent by his wife. Misra shared the emotional toll his capture had taken on his family members, particularly his mother, and expressed his gratitude to Charan for his comforting conversation with his mother in Maithili. Charan, though humble, downplayed his role and assured Misra not to worry about his mother's health. Everything would be fine. As Misra left, Jaya, while lifting the empty couplets, teased him with a smile. You are really a dangerous man. Charan couldn't understand what she meant. What do you mean? You duped even his mother, talking to her in Maithili language. Now Charan understood her. With a mischievous smile, he embraced her and replied, when I could dupe a girl like you, it is nothing to dupe others. Understood? What are you doing? Leave me, the door is open. Where? Saying this, as Charan looked back, Jaya slipped from his hands and hurried to the kitchen, throwing a darting, mischievous look at him. And then Charan started preparing again to leave for office as usual, and knowing well that his days of responsibilities were far from over.
Mr. Das, now we have Mr. Mitrojit Bishwas for the reading of Echoes of Ages, but I don't think he's here because he went for the lit walk. Moving on, we have Miss Aditi Chakraborty. Is she present here? Okay. Moving on to the next person for the Echoes of Ages, please put your hands together for Mr. Ajay Rawat.
Everyone, my name is Ajay Rawat and I'm here from New Delhi. It's wonderful to meet all the book lovers here, and authors and speakers and poets. And I know that you guys could have been doing anything better today, but you showed up here. It shows your commitment and your love towards literature. So thank you for that. So I've already written a book on self-help, which is non-fiction, called Empty Your Bag Full of Potential. But I'm going to speak about my story, which is contributed in the book called Echoes of Ages. And maybe this is, you call it serendipity or something, but I've been having this, there's a story was circling in my head for last 4 years, till I got a mail from Ukyoto saying that they want a story for this, on the theme of Echoes of Ages. And I could find a very interesting connection and a link for my story, and I could complete it very quickly. So I really thank the Ukyoto for this opportunity. So the story's title is called Sayonara. While it is a story based in Kolkata, but it has a Japanese title. It's a story about a family which is falling apart, and there's a middle-aged guy who's trying to find his identity, and he comes from Midnapur to Kolkata and trying to, get his identity here. And in all this attempt, he's used so many things in his relationship with his family, his wife and children. I can't reveal the whole story. I think it's a very short story. You can read it in the book. It's just 4 to 6 pages. But the gist is that since he's very helplessly trying all the possible ways to get his family together back, but he fails. He tried black magic. He tries technology, legal advices, and everything, but nothing works. And finally, he finds his solution in something which was least expected, and that was like when he chance upon coming across the Japanese philosophy of wabi sabi, which is from 15th century, and he receives a gift, and in that gift he finds an answer for a lot of his miseries or grief, you can say. And the story is about what he gives up to achieve what he really wanted in his life, and he finds his roots back. So it's a wonderful story, and when I told the people, they said that the theme of finding the true meaning of relationship, the story explores what is true meaning of relationship. So I would request you all to go through this book and read the story and share your feedback, and I'll put your best wishes on that. Thank you so much. If you have anything else to ask, I can maybe answer your questions, anything if you want to know. No? That's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye.
Much, Mr. Ajay Rawat. Now we have Dr. Alok Parna Das. Is she present here? No, somebody else. Okay, Dr. Alok Parna Das is not here. We move on to our next reader for the Echoes of Ages, and our final reader, Ms. Neelam Verma. So please put your hands together for Ms. Neelam Verma.
Good morning and welcome to this lovely event of Yukioto and the books that they are coming out with. And especially their interest in poetry, because stories are quite well published and circulated. It's poetry which always stays back, so in their books they give equal importance to poetry also. And I like this theme of Echoes of Ages, and I had penned some lines for my imaginary confrontation with the souls of Mahabharat in my imaginary ruins of Hastinapur. I used to feel that although there are no such ruins there, but I happened to see them in my dream or in my imagination. So there is a little prologue, and I have, with the characters, I have tried to ask those questions which have been not been visualized or asked by historians or intelligentsia till now, and to give or to explore the hidden psyche of those characters. So first I will just give a prologue. Shuddering in a shattered old ruin under a cold dome, we can see in the darkness of night shadows of ages bygone. Shattered dilemmas, shattered dogmas, shattered traditions, shattered ambitions. Clouds rumble, stones crumble. Somewhere forlorn, yet so near, some muffled echoes I clearly hear. Grieving melodies, cynical tragedies. Someone breathes in the dead fort, crawls on the parapet. I can see on staircases some melancholic faces. They stare at me with eyes so queer. From nowhere they seem to appear. Their souls tattered, their souls tattered, their ego battered. I wonder at those silhouettes so bare. Do they have something to share? Is it their arrogance or their despair? They look skeptical yet precise. Are they royalties in disguise? Shuddering in a shattered old ruin under a cold dome, I can see in the darkness of night shadows of ages bygone. The title of my poetry is None So Blind. I would read a few characters from that. First of all, I would like to have a take on Dhritarashtra. Oh Dhritarashtra, tell us honestly, isn't it true that you were not really blind? Isn't it true that you could see for sure what anyone else having eyes could see? Just like any other king, you too could see the coronation celebrations of your son. Even a blind man can see that there always is a bit of recklessness in any young prince. Would it have been desirable from a glorious emperor like your majesty to restrain the zeal of Duryodhan, your beloved son, the crown prince of Hastinapur, and humiliate him thus? You adorned the royal throne which was willfully cast aside by your brother Pandu. You were the king of Hastinapur. Your obsession was the final word, the royal command. Royal command depends upon the mood of the king. Can a king be forced to prove its aptness? Where is the question of being blind or not? Such irrelevant arguments are raised only by people who themselves are blind. Next I come to Gandhari, and here I have to give it a new take. Mata Gandhari, what was wrong about your blindfolding yourself? Is there a mother anywhere in the world who has not been blindfolded by the enchantment of her son? Has it ever been possible for a mother's heart to accept any fault of her son? Your dear son Duryodhan accused your dynasty bride Draupadi of humiliating him with offensive words in the Maya Mahal of Indraprastha, and you yielded without any evidence. You had not witnessed the alleged abuse, but your readiness to accept it as genuine without raising a finger was definitely a witness of your motherhood. When the palace was shuddering with the shrieks of a hapless woman, you could have punished your son for disgracing the royal throne. You could have stripped him of the right to be a crown prince. Were you waiting for some royal command at that moment? You never waited for any royal command before giving impregnable iron shield to your son's body. You never waited for any royal command before cursing Krishna. But when the harrowing cries of a distressed woman was waiting for the Empress of Hastinapur to intervene, which royal command were you waiting for? When the Empress and the mother within yourself confronted each other, then wasn't it the most convenient and natural option to stay silent and shroud your eyes in the blanket of motherhood? How can that silence be a preparator to the bloody battle of Mahabharata? How shrewdly you placed Draupadi in that position. In the game of gambling that was happening inside the royal palace, weren't you playing a bigger gamble by staying outside it? O Empress of Hastinapur, you are the one who did not hesitate to curse Krishna with your benevolent voice. But isn't your utter silence at the turning point of history that blind spot where a woman gets defeated by her own self always? There has been quite a long and wonderful rendition of Draupadi. There is one point which I want to add to it, and my next take of what I had to, when I went into the psyche of Panchali. Born out of the leaping flames of the Yagyakund, O Panchali, daughter of Panchal Naresh, your father had prayed for only one brave son who could give a lethal blow to Dronacharya. Has anyone till today been able to decode the purpose of your birth before the birth of your brother Drishtadyumna? Not only your adversaries, but even we are utterly confused over the strange linkages you had. What was your connection with Krishna, who did not get married to you in spite of your father's request? Why did he always salvage you from any kind of disaster? Did he not advocate you to forbid Karna from contesting in shooting challenge of your Swayamvar? Didn't this violation of the rules of Swayamvar amount to breach of dharma against the social dogma? When you consented to be a wife to 5 men, how come that friend of yours never found it to be immoral? By nature you were smart and clever. How come you could never see anything deceptive in his tactics? He got his sister Subhadra married to your husband Arjuna. He used you to bear the brunt of the devastating tussle between dharma and adharma. He made you the pawn of the ghastly battle of Mahabharata. His association with you made your character so controversial. But how did you avenge it all? By happily accepting to be dressed as Krishna. Yagaseni, when you suddenly appeared from the sacred fireplace, what made all the evil forces in land of Aryavarth shudder in fear? A reincarnation of Ma Kali, did your radiant brilliance complement the Kal Roop of Krishna? We wonder if with the intense inborn fire sparkling in your eyes, the real purpose of your manifestation was to engrave in the annals of history that for the victory of Dharma, more than the masculine might, even God needs feminine forces. And last, I would like to present to you the most controversial character in a new light, Karna. Angaraj Karn, welcome. How would your incredibly blind saga of this dark age come to an end without saluting you? In masculine might, you came closest to being a perfect man. In the whole world, there has been no warrior more strong or stern than you. No one has ever been more charitable than you. No one has ever been more faithful friend than you. Not just this, you were actually the most appropriate choice even for Panchali. It was she who, on the behest of that elusive Krishna, debarred you from participating in the Swayamvar without any valid reason. She even used derogatory and humiliating words for you, and you bore with all her recklessness with dignified silence. Was this not a reason enough for your non-interference when Panchali was being abused in the royal court? How does it matter if in the heat of the moment you used any insulting remark for her? It was neither a lie nor an exaggeration. You were not to be blamed for her grief. Rather, you had to bear the brunt of her abusive comments in the Swayamvar. It was the responsibility of the 5 men whom she was forced to share as her husbands, so as to honor the words spoken deliberately by their proficient mother Kunti, with an unethical objective of keeping them bound together. Oh, unfortunate Karn, she was the same proficient mother who immediately after giving birth to you had left you to be carried away by the unethical waves of a river, all alone. On every page of the historical records of Mahabharata, a stream of your tears can be seen flowing alongside the stream of blood. Still, maximum expectations are from you. Why don't we don't understand. Why is it said that you could stop the massacre of Abhimanyu when he got stuck in the Chakravyuh and thereby uphold your honor as a warrior? But there had to be some reason for doing so. What was wrong if that innocent boy was surrounded by your allies and pulled down from the chariot, if with a sadistic laughter you too made a heinous attack on him and insulted your own bravery? After all, how could friendship be insulted in front of bravery? Oh Karn, you were the most liberal human being in giving charity to anyone who came to you. It's so pathetic that while the battered boy on his deathbed asked for a sip of water, you didn't make any effort to do so from the little pond nearby. Subsequently, when the wheel of your own chariot got stuck in the same pond, and seeing you weaponless, Arjun shot his arrow at you. Why this hue and cry? Self-imposed pity makes any man so impotent, even if that man happens to be the Rashmi Rathi, golden child of sun god. Thank you.
Ms. Neelam Verma. Thank you to every participant of Echoes of Ages. Now we move on with our stories from India. With our first venture in India with the Stories from India project in 2019, we released a masterpiece of 6-volume series with 50 authors over a span of 3 months, and ever since our love and bonding with all our writers have been as strong as ever. And now we are here with the Stories from India Season 4, even larger, with over 150 applicants across India. We call our authors one by one for their readings. First, Ridhima Sen. I don't think she's present here. Manmohan Sadhna. Manmohan Sadhna is also not here. Mr. Spondan Ganguly. Mr. Sanjay Banerjee. Okay, we have Mr. Biren Shashmal here for the readings of Stories from India. So please put your hands together for Mr. Biren Shashmal.
Good afternoon to everyone. My respect to all the literary artists and the appreciators and the critics and people of literature here, and my deep thanks to the organizers. But I'm sorry, I'm not reading from Stories from India now because I have no PDF now with me. I will be reading it afterwards, but I'm reciting one of my poems or two more my poems. So please forgive me, I'm reciting poems, okay? This poem is The Fragrance. Okay. 10,000 I didn't see at a glance. A lonely flower I saw, perchance, languishing. It was left to die. I saw its sad petals strewn nigh. I lent my hands and planted it, nursed its wounds. Her eyes lit. She smiled and sucked the light of faith, danced and jeered at death. Suddenly, from where I don't know, a liquid essence brewed up and flew. It rained over the heaven, the earth, and the sky. The universe breathes a long song of joy. Sigh. I searched the nook of every heart, went to the trees, they said, the earth stood benumbed at an uncanny spell. Could anyone be able to tell what inspired the divine smell? This is a poem. The name of the poem is The Evening. She opened the door and I saw a sickly mist thickening around. Her face was as sick as a cask of wine sickening in the cellars. She held the froth in her hands, bubbles, her fingers peeled. She hid a pearl in her eyes, yet all the pearls she let loose. Come in, she welcomed me, and her lips parted like a pointed apple slit. Dry phrases she strained out, while from her tongue fell mute syllables, hung like reluctant drops from drowsy lips. Her frail arms waved, and me, the air rode on the wings of fire. A lightning storm blew me away. My soul ignited, divine. Alone I saw me burn. Oh Jesus, You kept me nailed to the door. Thank you very much.
Girl, ordinary girl. The city, Hyderabad, it is built in the name of love. That is the theme. Okay, sir. In the evening of the month of Shravana, as darkness closes in, the sky becomes densely covered with clouds, and lightning radiates thousands of volts of light from the clouds, illuminating the earth. Golconda Fort, located 10 kilometers away, can be seen gleaming and disappearing in the glow of lightning. A white horse came to halt by the banks of the river Musi, reacting the frightening thunder. Upon it sat Prince Kuli Qutb Shah of Golconda Fort and Queen Bagmati. He was 15 years old and his face shone like a full moon. He anxiously attempted to cross the river, galloping about on his horse. As a prince, he did not answer to anyone, nor did he share his purpose with anyone. He had come here for a deeply personal matter, to meet his beloved Bagmati. The young princess had swelled just at the thought of her. Why did his heart flutter for Bagmati? This thought crossed his mind once. What had happened to her in the floods? Was she safe? He wished with all his heart that God would keep her safe. It was known that the village beyond the Musi River had been washed away due to the floods. He needed to cross the river and reach Chichilam village to see Bagmati and inquire about her well-being. Who was Bagmati? Why did his heart flutter for her? He was a prince and she hailed from a poor artist's family. Why was he deeply in love with her? Did society approve? Would the royal family consent in the matter of love? The heart knows no distinction between rich and poor. Shouldn't there be concerns about the difficulties and losses that lovers might face in the future? But he loved her wholeheartedly. Bagmati was a radiant presence in his life. She was an incredibly beautiful girl, as if crafted by God just for him. She resembled a pearl on the dew-kissed grass of a pre-winter morning. She was a beautiful goddess who graced his dreams with the freshness of a new morning. She was a wild maiden walking with hesitant steps in the realm of desire. She danced like a peacock and ran like a young deer in his memories on soft grasslands. Her laughter resembled the gleam of bells, the melodious flow of a river, the music of countless harps. Her lily-like eyes, piercing and enchanting, formed bridges to the kingdom of love. Her memories were the lanterns that illuminated his life. So he loved, the princess loved a poor girl, belonged to a dance family. She had captivated him with her beauty, acting and singing. She was a year older than him. She was sweet 16. He was captivated by her enchanting beauty. He first laid eyes on her 3 months ago during a pleasure trip to the banks of the Musi River on his horse. She was walking gracefully towards the temple of the goddess, carrying a flower basket in her hand. Dressed in a skirt made of glittering velvet cloth and moving as gracefully as a royal swan. Love at first sight is indeed a powerful force transcending caste and religion. Love at first sight is immortal, both for him and for her. From the very beginning of their love, words were unnecessarily, their silent connection said it all. The prince visited her daily on his horse by the banks of the Musi river near the temple. Their minds melded into one, and even their words became superfluous. Life became Life became sweeter with their love. A day without seeing or meeting each other felt like a day wide in their existence. That day, heavy rain had been pouring since morning, causing the river to overflow its banks. Crossing seemed impossible, but Kuli Qutb Shah was determined to meet his beloved. He urged his horse through the deep water, reaching the other side where Bhagamati patiently waited. Kuli's love touched Bhagamat's heart deeply, and they embraced with overwhelming affection, grateful that his beloved was safe. He bid her farewell and crossed the river, returning to Golconda Fort. Love is a fragrance that enriches life. Prince Kuli's father eventually learnt about his son's love affair. The heir to the Kulikutisha dynasty was in love with a girl from a low-caste artist's family, which left the king puzzled. He contemplated placing obstacles in the path of Kuli's love. Kuli was confined within the royal palace with the hope that his love for Bhagamati would wane. The king even arranged entertainment and the company of beautiful women from the places like Persia and Iran. However, true love doesn't easily fade, and Kuli's love for Bhagamati remains steadfast. Kuli, a well-educated young man who spoke Urdu, Telugu, and Persian and had absorbed many books, turned to poetry as a form of self-expression for his profound feelings of love. Love is the cornerstone of poetry, expressing the essence and philosophy of life. Kuli began to write poems expressing his pain. They say, if there is no love, no lover, don't bother living patiently. This is unfair. I can't survive for a moment without my lover. His verses spoke of the inseparable connection between love and life, and he couldn't even envision that he would one day be recognized as the poet who wrote the first love poems and ghazals in Urdu. Kuli couldn't stop thinking about Bhagamati and their meetings. His father, concerned for his son's safety, Ibrahim Kuli ordered the construction of a bridge over the river Musi to allow his son to cross during the rainy season floods. This bridge, known as the Pyarka Pool, was built in 1578 by Ibrahim Kuli Shah, just 1 year after the foundation stone was laid. It stood as a symbol of love, built for lovers in Hyderabad. It is commonly referred to as a Purana pool. It is still, we see the bridge. After the death of Ibrahim Kuli Shah in 1580, Kuli Shah ascended to the throne of Golconda. At the young age of 17, he proved himself not only as a ruler who governed his people, but also as a king who had won the heart of lover. Kuli Shah, a popular ruler, poet, and a lover, left a lasting mark on history. Love, whether of a king or a commoner, is something that transcends boundaries. Despite opposition from religious leaders and family members, Kuli Qutb Shah remained steadfast in his love for Bhagamati. In 1591, after a successful 11-year life rule, he married her. Bhagamati held a deep affection for a king Kulip Shah. One day, the Lord of Love said to his beloved wife, Bhagamati, my dear, I will give you a gift of love that no one else in the world has ever given to anyone. What is that, my lord? Asked with affection. I build a city in your name on the banks of the Musi River, where you were born and raised. It will be called the city of Bag, named Bhagyamati, also known as the city of fortune, Bhagyanagar. Okay, thank you, friends. It is an historical, real story. The bridge is there, Pyarka pool, Purana pool. Okay, thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much. Madam, please take one photograph. Jaipal, please take. Tisna? No, Tiya. Tisna Tiya leda.
Abhi Pradhan, is she present here? Moving on, we have Dr. Alok Porna Das. Okay, so we have Dr. Alok Porna Das here. So please put your hands together for Dr. Alok Porna Das. A louder round of applause, please.
Just give me 5 minutes, please. So my story's name is Drought. This current drought in North Gujarat can be your opportunity to shift from features to news. Her senior colleague Sujata told Sumita as they both sipped tea at their office canteen. Sumita was a bit surprised. How can one describe drought, a calamity that had led to the loss of lives, as an opportunity? Well, you write very well, Sumita. Find a news story on drought that can make it to the front page of our newspaper, and you may be able to convince the news editor. It's too much light, actually, from the news editor to shift you to news reporting. Sumita had been a journalist for 6 years in Delhi, her hometown, and most of her assignments had been soft stories about fashion, film, and celebrity press meets. Sumita was also very unhappy. She wanted to, be part of the main news. Can you have some shade so that it doesn't kind of come into my... Hi, Chandan. Is it possible to get some shade somewhere? I mean, it's like chamak raha hai na, I can't read. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Sumita had been a journalist for 6 odd years in Delhi, her hometown. Most of her assignments had been soft stories about fashion, film, and celebrity press meets. This is what happens to most women journalists. They're not given, serious news. They're asked to cover fashion, cinema, and other things. Sumita was unhappy. She wanted to be part of the main news pages and not the feature supplements. Her boss had advised her to shift her base to a regional and smaller center where she could find opportunities to do both features and news stories. After all, with fewer reporters being employed in regional centers, you may get a chance to write news stories at least occasionally. That's what he had told her. And so Sumita was here in Ahmedabad, a city where she knew no one, living away from her family for the first time. I'm not audible? Okay. Living away from her family for the first time. Sujata had taken her under the wings since the first day, and her advice did make sense to Sumita. She quickly dialed Sam Nariman, the freelance photographer who, like her, was keen to see his photographs published in the news pages and not just weekend feature section. Sam, do you recall telling me about a medieval stepwell around 150 kilometers from here, which continues to be a source of water for the local villages? Let's go there this weekend. We may find a story worthy of the news pages, she said. But don't you need to get permission first? Sam asked. We'll go on my weekly off day and inform the editor only if we find something interesting, she said. That weekend, Sam and Sumita took the early morning bus from Ahmedabad to Either and from there another bus to Harad, the place where the medical stepwell was located. The Tropic of Cancer passed over the barren land between Either and Harad. On the parched farmland bound by boulders on both sides, Sumita could spot a few carcasses. Women and girls walking with pots and vessels to fetch water waved at their bus. As the driver slowed down, they asked if they could get a free ride to Harad, the nearest source of water. The driver obliged, and as they quickly got into the vehicle, the bus took a sharp turn downhill towards its final destination. The village was bustling with women. Their chatter was growing louder, reflecting their anxious state of mind. Would they get enough water to take back home? As Sam and Sumita walked towards the stepwell, taking photographs and to engage with people around, they were halted by a group of men who looked very disapprovingly at Sumita. "What do you want?" one of them demanded. "If you intend to take photographs and speak to the women here, you'll have to pay a fee. Nothing comes for free. We are striving to save this place from drought and you want to turn our struggle into an opportunity to earn money," another man remarked angrily. As Sam attempted to communicate with the local villagers in Gujarati and reason with them, Sumita noticed a young girl curiously eyeing Sam's camera. The girl was struggling to carry a pot that was too big for her. Sumita smiled at her and in broken Gujarati asked if she was accompanying her parents. The shy girl pointed towards a frail woman in the crowd and said, "That's my mother." Sumita inquired if she came here every day to fetch water from the stepwell. No, I come here whenever my mother asks me to fetch water for my brothers," she said. As her mother approached, the girl became more confident and willing to share her information. She said, "My brothers live with my paternal uncle. Their village is in Rajasthan." Sumita asked her if she attended school. No, I don't, but my brothers do go to school 3 times a week and work on our uncle's farmland for the 3 days for the rest of the 3 days of the week. Sumita had heard that the current village head was a woman. As she mentioned this to someone in the crowd, Sam whispered that she would have to first seek permission from the woman's husband. You know the Sarpanch Pati syndrome? It's one of those, the husbands who call the shots. You have to obtain his approval to speak to his wife, he said. Navigating through the crowd of women with their pots and pans, Sumita and Sam finally reached the steps of the medieval stepwell, a protected monument according to the government records. The water deep down appeared murky with filth, including empty packets and dried flowers floating on its surface. The ornamentation and sculptures that once adorned the walls and pillars of this inverted pyramid-like structure looked withered and worn due to neglect and misuse. Soon the bells that nearby temple rang, signaling the women to form a queue and wait for their turn to draw out water. Women jostled with each other, trying to get closer to the well, even as a couple of men appointed by the state sanitation department attempted to control the crowd and simultaneously remove the garbage from the well. Finally, buckets were lowered and everyone waiting impatiently were looking for their share of water. As Sumita took a few sips of water from her water bottle, she observed the temple priest applying vermilion paste to the reclining figure of Vishnu on one of the pillars at the entrance of the stepwell. The Lord seemed to be watching over another kind of Samudra Manthan, or the mythical churning of the ocean. This time, there were no gods and demons battling for nectar, but ordinary women who had taken upon the task of drawing and transporting water. There may not be a drop of nectar in their vessels, but their pots do carry the hope of life. Thank you so much.
For the stories from India, we have Ms. Sucharita Parija. So please put your hands together for her.
This is Sucharita. My poem, Spirit Uncorrupted, has found a place in this book, Stories from India, Volume 2. Actually, I have published two poetry books, Estrenar and Merak. Estrenar is right over there. It has been translated into 5 foreign languages. And Merak is also a poetry book that was published 2 years back. And my third book is also coming next month. Uh, when I got the title Stories from India to write something about it, so I thought many people have already told us many things about the India's rich culture, cuisines, travel destinations, everything. Mainly the rich culture of India is very famous outside also. So I didn't want to write anything on those topics. So I wanted to highlight about Indian women. So my story is about an Indian lady who is actually, the poem has been taken from a real life incident. It's about a lady sweeper. So I'm not going to read the whole poem. I will just read out 2 stanzas because I'm not a performer myself. I just write poems and short stories. So the spirit uncorrupted, when the sun is yet to climb, hasn't even shown his face from his specified east side, where the moon still shines and stars are lazing around. In the sky above my house, starry objects spraying light, infiltrating the run-down roof, just built with tin and mud, that soars like a frail mind, making a rattling sound with the strong wind. Actually, it's a real story. The sweeper who works in our colony, she has a bedridden husband and 2 children to feed, and her in-laws are also staying with her. So she has to earn the money for her husband, for the in-laws, and for the education of her children also. So even if she is bedridden or has pain over her body, she has to wake up before the sun rises and to go for her work. So the main reason I wrote is, even if she has seen poverty and everything, her spirit is not diminished. It is uncorrupted. So every day she thanks God that at least she is alive, can give education or some food to her children, and her family depends on her. So the last stanza I will just read out, and please buy the book. This struggle will end soon. Maybe in this current life, some miracle will transpire at work or in my boring life. I remind myself at every dawn, go on working and keep moving. God will take care of my family as I keep on chanting merrily. To keep toiling and working has become my life's mantra, reflecting on my philosophy, enjoying every waking beating. I'm a sweeper who cleans to keep the city disease free. Thank you so much.
Next we have for the stories from India, please put your hands together for Plabi Pradhan.
Hello everyone. Greetings of the day. I hope you are all doing well. So I am Plabi Pradhan, and one of my story is here in the volume 2. So basically this is a very simple story. By default I am a poet, and a poetry book is published also from here Kyoto, and I have another 4 poetry books also. But this time I tried to write some story, and before this I have written psychological horror stories also, and this time I thought that I have to write something simple or like love story types. So as this book is the stories from India, so I thought that this plot can be a perfect fit for this book. Like this story is about Indian women, a Indian lady, and who is a widow, and this story is about that widow lady and an unmarried guy, and they fall in love. Not fall in love, rather that unmarried guy make the efforts to melt the heart of the widow lady, and this is the story. The story is all about that efforts that we nowadays we are forgetting to do the efforts, but that little efforts can actually melt hearts, or actually bring changes. So I am reading just a part, okay? It's not about who has broken you, but it's about who has collected your shattered parts, fixed you up, and removed the broken marks with love. That's how Deep and Pariniti's story was. Pariniti was in her late 20s, and Deep had just stepped into his 30s. Life was going well for both of them, but amid all the activities, loneliness was poking at them. Both of them were looking for good hearts, which were rare in this era, but they never knew that they could find that on an arranged marriage platform. However, things were never as easy as they seemed. Pariniti was going through past trauma. She had been in love with a man for 13 long years. They got married, and after 1 year of marriage, her husband passed away. Pariniti was still holding on to that past relationship, feeling her husband's presence even in his absence. There was no room for another man to enter into her life. Though her mother had created an account on the arranged marriage platform, Pariniti was not interested at all. Deep's story was different. Now I am talking about the another protagonist, which is the male protagonist, Deep. Deep's story was different. He was an unmarried man doing well in his career and had a clear heart, but life can be painful for those with pure hearts because gold cannot achieve purity without going through the furnace. That's how Deep's life had been. So after that, because of Deep's efforts, because of these Deep's good gestures, Pariniti actually melted, because she was very much determined that she will never get into another man, because she was very happy with the memories of his late husband. So how this all happens, the story is all about that. Please do reading, please buy the book and read my story also. Thank you.
Thank you, Plabi. I would like to invite Mr. Biren Shashmal once again on stage for Stories from India reading this time. Please put your hands together for Mr. Shashmal once again.
I must thank everybody for their patience, because it is scorching heat. Yes, you are sitting patiently and hearing us. Okay, thank you once again. I'm now trying to read out some parts of my story. So, you know, every short story is a discovery by itself. You can take a stone, but you can make it a story. That's the alchemy that is expected of a short story writer. My story is about a boy, a schoolboy, a brilliant student who was driven out of his school at the time of COVID-19. This is a very sad story. Actually, it was taken from a real life happening. So my story goes by the name The Young Man and the sea, in sharp contrast with The Old Man and the Sea by Hemingway. Okay, so let me start. And now I have a clear view of my target. It's him. I happened to meet him after long 5 years. How is this rat-nosed guy? Is it still as snobbish as ever? Does his face look the same as one often described by the boys from Saint High School? Is it still a bulldog-like canine and feline? Or has it remained a frog-faced, hawkish, or toady-like? It is difficult to tell from behind. But first, I can breathe a sigh of relief. I found him. Oh no, no. The queue is not moving. Move past. Hey readers, you might be wondering why I'm using so many adjectives. It is his gift. My former principal from one of the best schools in the city. He always makes me remember those challenging days of the year 2020. Those days took my poor father and my strong-hearted mother from me and threw me into a turbulent sea. I didn't know how to swim to safety, and this man was reluctant to help me. Oh my gosh, how did this lady or girl manage to just intrude? Did I not see her before? The in-between. The in-between means a potential danger for me. I can't even pick from behind. I want to avoid being added to the list of suspects. Standing in the queue, my mind drifts back. Could she be the girl with hazel eyes and sculpted eyebrows? Does this girl have those hazel eyes? My mother, my other self wanted me. Don't remember or you will become weak. But I feel drowsy, nostalgic. Am I in a small wooden boat about to capsize, fighting against the hungry waves while the weather howls around? Maybe I'm lost in delirium. Some pages of my life's calendar are flipping back to those ominous days of 2019 to 2020. I can't resist. Now, this is a long story. I must be going to the end of the story. Actually, he is now taking revenge against the principal of his institution. So, the principal is in the queue and he has come here. So, the last paragraph. So, my other self slapped on me. Take your fees back from Ogre. It is his turn. My target suddenly looked back and saw me. Are you? Yes, sir. I couldn't see you from behind. What are you doing now? I have completed masters in money management, sir. Ah, good. You have crossed so many hurdles. I wanted to overtake the lady in front of me. I had to avenge the wrongs done to me. He was just managing his fat wallet. In the blink of an eye, I was about to grab, but suddenly the lady behind me whispered in my ears, "It's blasphemy on Indo. Come with me. We have a boat ready." I followed her, bewildered. Actually, this lady was his girlfriend in those days of the school, he has now driven to the world of a delivery boy. And whenever he goes everywhere, he declares that he is MMM, Master in Money Management. In this way, he befools people everywhere he is going. This is a sad story of that boy. But the sadness is relieved at last while his lady love comes back and whispers in his ears, there is a boat ready. Thank you all.
Shashmal, we next have our last reader from the Stories from India. Please put your hands together for Mitrajit Bishwas.
Very good afternoon. I know it's pretty sunny out here, so I hope that you guys are enjoying your time. So I'll just read some portions. So the story's title goes, The Elephant King, India Takes the Lead in Asia. Now this may, as the title goes, it is about a mix of fiction and a bit of what we are seeing in the present, because my passion lies in the affairs of geopolitics. So I've tried to take out a fiction and write about this. So without further ado, let me start on the part that I've tried to write. The 22nd century has come to a close and humanity's reach has extended to the moon. However, life on Earth has undergone significant changes during the past century. Over the past 100 years, the Earth's climate has shifted dramatically, primarily due to global warming. Around 35% of the ice glaciers in the northern and southern poles have melted, resulting in the submergence of many North American cities on both the east and the west coast. Parts of China, India, West Asia and Southeast Asia have become nearly uninhabitable due to the environmental impact, leading to civil conflicts and the displacement and death of approximately 80% of the population. That could really happen in reality. Amidst the global crisis, two private establishments were founded, inspired by the International Space Station, providing refuge for a limited population of 70,000. As the world faced natural disasters and dwindling resources, the G20 countries embarked on a project called Quantuminium, aiming to create a floating city. However, alongside this project, darker developments were unfolding. As the world neared the end of the 22nd century, recognized as the last decade before irreversible changes, a final effort was initiated by the remaining world governments, known as the One Heart, One World initiative. Faced with an unsustainable world, world leaders sought to establish a more direct organization than the United Nations. Well, that's a joke because United Nations doesn't work itself that well. The United Nations had already faltered in controlling the climate refugee crisis and the planet's collapse seemed inevitable. The One Heart, One World initiative delved into the genetic modification of the other species and combined it with artificial intelligence to create a hybrid animal. Initially conceived as Project Evolution by the CIA, this initiative gained momentum when parts of the western United States and coastal Mexico were submerged in water. The objective was to develop a new generation of control mechanisms that incorporated artificial intelligence, utilizing the intelligence and cognitive capabilities of hybrid animals. It had become clear that the Earth's long-term sustainability was uncertain. While floating cities had been established, regular space flights have become commonplace, and settlement on Mars and the Moon has grown, the challenge of growing food and securing water resources remain significant. Nevertheless, around 1.5 million people have settled on the celestial bodies in the past 30 years. Additionally, two self-sustaining floating cities had been constructed. However, Earth's ultimate fate appears to be entrusted to an entirely different species. I'm going to keep my reading till here because I don't want to read out the entire story, of course. For the rest of the part, you have to know that what I've tried to write. But as I mentioned before, it's a part of fiction and part of what I've seen in reality. So if you do want to enjoy this, please do buy the book and read it. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mitrajit. We come to an end of reading from Stories from India. We now welcome Miss Imani A. Shipra for a poetry reading. Please put your hands together for Imani. A louder.
So I'm going to be reading a poem of mine, and this poem is called What is Art? So this poem is written from the perspective of a girl who tries to voice her opinions and her emotions out, but she's finding it very hard to do that, and thus turns to writing poems and uses poetry as a mode of expression. So I'll read the poem now. What is art? What is art if not a mosaic of broken parts? A deadly scream of an aching heart which is at the verge of falling apart. I tried being happy, but it didn't work out. So I wrote what I felt, I screamed them out loud. I stain parchments with ink as my pen dances over it. I stain my story on history's sheet as a blade dances over my chest. A loud squeal of anguish does a sound of laughter conceal. The dripping tears, running rivers, hide behind a facade and reel. I cried too much that day that a part of my heart melted through my eyes and flowed down my cheek. I know I should have prayed, but I'm running out of prayers and have brutally bruised my knees. My hands shake, my palms sweat. I grow more weary with every step. My eyes filled with wine, my lungs grew flowers. But that's not where you pour wine or plant your flowers. My eyes blurred and I couldn't take a breath. I cried tears of wine like blood down my face. Suffocation felt miserable, but looked like grace. I know I should paint my life with vivid shades, but here is a splash of red, black, and grey. She sounds demonic, that's what most people say. Well, I'm trying to explain what's inside my head. I'm not a saint, doesn't mean I'm a sinner. I'm trying, but it just doesn't work for me as it does for you. I wish I could break my skull in half so you can get a glimpse of what is on the inside. I try to pin it down, but mere words don't suffice. Thank you.
Thank you, Imani, for this lovely poem. We next invite Ms. Jyoti Gidwani for a poetry reading. Please put your hands together for Jyoti.
Hello everyone, my name is Thank you Kyoto Publishers for giving us this opportunity and this platform. 2 of my books are being awarded here at KLC 2024. This one is The Manifestation Formula, Power of Thought Sap. And my second book is Poet of the Year, My Muse and Me, A Soulful Expression. I'm going to be reading 2 poems from my book. The title of first poem is Grief. We all are human beings and we all pass through the phase of grief multiple times in our lifetime. So I was going through the period of grief and I took up writing to heal myself. Grief. Before little Monica went to bed, she looked out of her window. Oh, how badly she missed her mom. Without her, there was complete silence at home. She remembered her mother's words. The moon is the link that connects us to God's world. Her mother had once told her, when our loved ones leave, we want to cry in grief. Pour your heart out to moon. Like 5G, our messages to our other world reach very soon. Her eyes were teary. Her soul longed for love, was tired and weary. But she was at least sure of one thing, that moon was always listening. This was her private hotline to mom, which offered only one-way communication. Ever since mom had gone, she would wave to the moon every night and suggested to upgrade the app from incoming to video chat. Technology has been changing so fast, from landlines to mobiles to video chat. What stops God from upgrading the application so that with our loved ones, face to face we can have communication? Before little Monica went to bed, she looked out of the window. Now warmth of mom's hug was provided by her pillow. Seeing the moon so up close and near, she felt as if moon was responding to her. Even though she stretched out but could not reach, moon linked her to mama. That's what her mom would teach. Mind can reach anywhere in fractions of seconds. Only loving thoughts can transcend the realms and reach to the other end. There's one more poem. This poem is inspired by the love story of Laila and Majnu. True love. What is true love? Is it soul contract from above? I read a story in history. There were soulmates called Majnu and Laila. These kids were deeply in love, voila. Whom do you love the most? Asked their teacher. He was a spiritual preacher. All the kids said, Allah. Only Majnu replied, Laila. The teacher was furious as the reply was spurious. The teacher asked him to repeat with a strong caveat. He was in flow. His face shone with a glow. Teacher thought it was a prank, picked up his cane to spank. At teacher's command, he extended his hand. The cane hit him on his palm. He appeared to be calm. Ah, uttered in a feeble voice, hiding her pain behind the poise. He received the smack. Her palm turned blue and black. How did the cane cause the impact to her without any contact? The teacher was flabbergasted. Then it dawned on him. He learned greatest lesson on love, oneness and spiritualism. He witnessed two bodies, one soul. Can anyone be more spiritual? Love teaches us lessons of oneness, depth of soulmates and their soul connections. Thank you.
We now have Mr. Devajit Bhoya who would like to say a few words. Please put your hands together for Devajit Bhoya.
And thank you Arjun and Team Ukioto for inviting me over to give a talk today at Kolkata Literary Carnival 2024. So before I begin, a little bit introduction about myself. My name is Anangsha Alamyan and this is my book, What Did Tashi Do? It's a cyber crime thriller that talks about the impact of leaked personal information online on a woman's life. My second book is called Taming Infinity. It's right there on the wall there. It's a collection of poems about love in today's modern times. So in today's talk, I was invited to do a talk, but I haven't really prepared a speech or haven't really, made a big presentation as such, which is very unlike me. Usually I'm a very meticulous person, so usually I prepare a lot of notes and details. I thought I'll just wing it today depending on the mood here. So today I really wanted to talk about an issue that many of us as authors might face, or any of us as ambitious people might face. So the constant dichotomy or the constant dilemma between celebrating your small wins and aiming big, right? Because as ambitious people or as writers, we always have a dream or a goal that we want to reach at a certain point. And then there is also this thing that is being told us by social media that, we need to reach our goals, we need to make to-do lists and achieve them, we need to be productive all the time. That constant struggle, the constant hustle is always there in our lives, and the goal, the ambition that doesn't let us sleep. That's always there, a major part of our life. And sometimes that can have a toxic effect on your mental health as well. It can make you feel like you're not doing enough. It can make you feel like you are not enough because you're not being productive. You're not working on your next book. You're not working on your next article or not making enough money. That's something that might happen to all of us, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about balancing both the mental health, the peace, the celebrating your small wins that is necessary to do in life, and also the hustle, the struggle to reach the top, that's also there. How do we balance that? How do we balance celebrating our small wins while not settling for mediocrity and also working towards our goals while not being caught up in the toxic hustle culture. Today's talk is going to be a little bit about that. So before I begin, a small backstory. So this book, What Did Tashi Do? It came out in 2019. That's like 5 years back. And in the 5 years since, I have only published one book, which is a poetry collection, and nothing else. So obviously you might understand that I have been feeling that a lot lately, that I haven't been doing enough. I haven't been writing enough. I haven't been reaching my full potential. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. That constant talk, the self-talk is always there in my head that I'm not doing enough. And it's very easy to lose yourself in that, and it's very easy to compare other people's successes and feel that, you know, somebody has written more books than me, they are better writer than me, while I have been left behind in this journey. It's very natural to feel that way, and I have been feeling that a lot, so I can relate. I'm telling you that. And but that is also like, you know, if you constantly feel that way, you'll get lost in that cycle, and it's very hard to get out of it. So I feel that very delicate, that thin line, that balance needs to be there, because I might not have written enough books since 2019, but in 2021 I have quit my job to become a full-time writer. So before quitting my job, I used to work as a civil engineer, but it's going to be 3 years now since I'm a full-time writer, and I might not have written any books in those 3 years, but I have established a career for myself as a writer. I have a very, I should call, I'm not being shy to call it successful, but yeah, I do have a successful blog online where I write about my journey with self-improvement and personal development. And I'm very lucky that I live in a time and space in this digital era where blogs, articles, they pay us enough to help us pay our bill, pay our rent, pay for food, etc. So yes, I have not written enough books, but I have established a career as a writer, and I feel that it's important to celebrate your small wins also. Because, you know, sometimes you feel that you're not doing anything to reach your goal, but all the small steps that you take along the way will help you reach there somehow. Like if you believe in a higher purpose, in your life's purpose or your life's goal, then every step that you take will lead you there. You might not know the way. There's also a very famous quote by Bill Gates that says that only when you look back you can connect the dots. So right now when we are in the present, we feel that we are just going in random directions, arbitrary motions, not going anywhere, it's not leading us anywhere. But when you look back, maybe 5 years later, you might be grateful for all these small things that you have done along the way that have helped you. So currently, like speaking from personal experience, I have been writing blogs a lot. I make YouTube videos as well. Last year I made a vlog on the Kolkata Literary Carnival. I'm going to make a vlog this year as well. So it feels that all of these are nothing. They are just shots in the dark for me. But maybe 5 years later I'll look back and be grateful that I was present. I showed up. Even if I did not write my book, I did practice my craft, which is writing. I did put myself out there. I made an effort to be present online, to market myself, to build my brand. And I feel I'll be grateful. That's all I hope, fingers crossed. And the takeaway for everyone who's listening here today is that you might not be actively working on your goal every single day, but you can still be conscious and intentional about practicing your craft every day. I feel that's very important for us as writers. Like every single day we might not be thinking of a new story or working on a new chapter of our book, but if we are practicing in some way, either we are practicing our writing or if we are practicing our personal branding, like we are making an effort to present our work online, I think that plays a huge role as well. And also I feel one thing where we all struggle as writers is the marketing aspect. We are so shy of putting our work out there on the internet. We feel so overwhelmed with so many social media platforms that we feel it's better to stay silent and hope people will notice our talent. But that's not true, because if you might be the most talented person in the world, but how will people know you if your work is not there online? So I feel that aside from writing books, it's also necessary to invest some energy, time and effort into building your personal brand online. This can be done by any social media platforms. We are so lucky, we live in an age where so many platforms like LinkedIn, Medium, Facebook, Instagram are there that help us present our work online and show up. So it's really great to use all of these platforms to market your work. For example, I use LinkedIn a lot to promote myself. I don't use it to promote my books. I use it to promote myself as a writer, because I have also noticed something, that when someone of your reader, they buy a book written by you, they don't buy it because the book is great. They buy it because they believe in you, they want to support your journey, they want to be a part of your dream. So that is the power of having a strong personal brand. If you present yourself as someone people want to support or want to be a part of your journey, then you can build a loyal following of people who are going to be interested in buying your work. That I feel is my takeaway from so many years of writing and presenting online. And yeah, I think that sort of sums up what I wanted to say today. But I would be happy to address questions as well from any one of you if you have any questions regarding personal branding online or presenting your work online or even marketing your book. Because this book that I published in 2019, so far this has sold more than 10,000 copies, counting the ebook and the paperback. So if you have any questions about book marketing as well, I'll be happy to take them. I am just going to be hanging around here until dinner. So yeah, I hope to meet some of you, talk to you, hear about your books and your stories as well. And if I can help you in any way, I would be more than happy. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. So everyone still awake after lunch? Yes? So I am audible, right? I'm audible? Why are you all not audible? Huh? Another round of applause please for yourselves, for being such a lovely audience, beating the heat of Kolkata winter. Such dichotomy can only happen here in Kolkata. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I am Devlina Mukherjee, used to be an engineer, now trying to be an author. Huge improvement, I should say. Even though I wanted to be a writer forever, but I always thought of it as an intangible dream, something I could not catch up to. Or maybe when I'll be like 60 or so, post-retirement. But the pandemic, made it happen for me. So I had this, once the pandemic was sort of over and everything was coming back to the normal, I had this surreal dream and suddenly realized that if I don't do this now, then when? Life is too short probably to keep any important dream on hold forever. So I knew that I had to carve a slice of my life and dedicate it to writing. So I quit my job and Timeless Tales of Kindred Souls was born. Thank you for the click. So this book is a collection of short stories and essays, a coming-of-age saga steeped in magic and nostalgia. There are 9 essays and 9 short stories. The essays basically is a journey of a small little curious girl who grows up and sees the world and receives all these inputs from the world, and that shapes her life, that shapes her imagination. They build permanent impressions on her. And the stories are completely different from the essays, and they are like individual trees in a forest which have their own origin, own fruition, own leaves and own fruits. So the stories are sort of what the girl would have heard or read about in that age as she was growing up. So it is not like it is only for children and young adults. It's a huge nostalgic ride for people of all ages. And believe you me, most of my readers have been grown-ups, have been my friends, my relatives, and a lot of people whom I did not expect would relate and like the stories. Like my oldest reader has been 90 years of age, and he has read and told that the stories remind him of his young age and when he was growing up, and he was completely reliving his childhood, those uncomplicated, beautiful, happy times that he always longed to go back to. So this is an anthology of short stories, as I have told. It starts with an unconventional fairy tale, followed by a few fantasy and supernatural chronicles, a travelogue, a crime thriller, and ends with a sweet romantic saga set in pre-independence India, and encompasses some really beautiful relationships, some unconventional friendships, and camaraderie. Since this book is for children and grown-ups alike, the topics are never too dark or complex. But under the wraps of the light and the feel-good and the funny, there are some important messages like mental health, women empowerment, owning your destiny, and intentionally celebrating girl power and get-go attitude. So as a first-time author, I knew it would be overwhelming to find a topic which I could drive to completion. So swim through all the ideas that I have collected over years. So I also looked at the market and found that there is a void in the market for young adults, books for young adults written from the Indian point of view. So we have a lot of such books in the regional languages. We have grown up feeding on such books, beautiful literature. But I don't find the same for young people of this age. And I do meet a lot of kids from ages 8 to 80 who have grown up in different parts of India or in other countries, and they do not read well in their native language. So they can speak in their mother tongue, they want to know more about it, but the language is always a hindrance. So you cannot choose the home you grow up in. You cannot choose the country, you cannot choose the language that you are familiar with. But you can choose the country that you carry with yourself, the home that you carry with yourself. So that is where this book comes into picture. It is a home away from home. Once you have it, you can always take a deep dive into the nostalgia and relive your childhood. If you're away from home, this is the home. These are the pages that will bring home to you. And so I have a little short note. Let's see, the idea of home. The focus behind the writing was to bring home to those who have been away. You don't get to choose the country you grow up in, the languages you study. You can only choose the country that you carry. The book acts as your anchor, often the only home you meet in many days, many miles away from the home you want to come back to. This becomes your solace and safe space. So now on, whenever you are lonely, home is just one read away from you. So I wanted to create something in this space where kids of these days can get the sensibilities and earthiness of their motherland and heritage in the language they are comfortable reading. And the added bonus is that this is a great nostalgic and comfort read for adults as well, because the best stories are the ones that make the kids laugh and the adults cry. So this is the book. I am sure you will enjoy reading the book a lot more than my talk, because I have gone all berserk and haphazard, I know that. Please get a signed copy from the stall there. I'll be hanging around. And thank you and have a good day. Great having such patient listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, Devleena. We now move on to our Broken Whispers reading. The Broken Whispers is all about the day-to-day affairs and the short stories that we keep having in our lives. There are so many instances when we think of saying something to someone but do not say that, and later remember that lost moment. At times, speaking our heart out with a mere whisper can even do wonders. We call our authors one by one for the readings. We first call Mr. Shahib Sheikh Tanvi. Okay, moving on to the next reader, Mr. Abhijit Chakraborty. Okay, please put your hands together for Mr. Abhijit Chakraborty.
Abhijit Chakraborty, and as an author, this is my first time, so I don't know how to talk and which way talk. So I have my mobile and I have written some line for me. So please don't think that I don't know anything, but because it is my first time, so I'm trying to say a few words using my mobile. So please. Hello. I stand before you today with a mix of excitement and humbleness, as this marks my first public appearance as an author. It is both an honor and privilege to share this moment with you, surrounded by individuals who appreciate the beauty and impact of storytelling. Thank you for gathering here today to celebrate the power of words and storytelling. I'm delighted to share my profound gratitude as my story, Postmortem, finds its place among the incredible works in Those Broken Whisper Volume 1, alongside talented fellow authors. Writing is a solitary journey, but the magic happens when these words connect with readers, creating a shared experience. Those Broken Whisper Volume 1 has provided a canvas for our voice to intertwine, offering a glimpse into diverse perspectives and emotions. I extend my deepest appreciation to Ukyoto Publishing and everyone involved in bringing the anthology to life. Your dedication has given our stories a home, allowing them to resonate with hearts across the world. To my fellow and respected author, it is an honor to share this literary space with you. Each of us has woven a unique tapestry of thoughts and emotions, contributing to the rich mosaic of human experiences. May our words inspire, comfort, and provoke thought in those to embark on this literary journey. To the readers, thank you for inviting our stories to your lives. It is your engagement and connection with our words that breathe life into the pages. I hope Postmortem resonate with you, leaving a lasting imprint on your heart. Let us continue to celebrate the power of storytelling, for it is through these narratives that we discover the shared thread that bind us as a humanity. Here is to the Broken Whisper Volume 1 and the enduring legacy of stories that connect us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhijit. Now we have our next reader for the Broken Whispers, Mr. Rajat Chandra Sharma. Is he present here? Moving on, we have Mr. Ajit Wadhwa. Okay, moving on again. We have Dr. Yashodhara P. for the Broken Whispers. We have Miss Ponang Irang Angu. Okay, most of them are not here. We have Mitrojit Bishwas, our next. Rajeshwari Tagore. Dimita Ketan Mehta. Kuntala Bhattacharya. Sucharita Parija. Okay, I don't think anybody is here yet, so we'll take a break for maybe half an hour and we'll resume shortly. So thank you so much. You may enjoy the stalls over here. We have art galore, we have books on display, and we have clothing and apparel stalls. So please check them out. and have fun. Thank you. We call upon Mr. Manmohan to release his book, Healing Strings, which has won the Book of the Decade and has been translated into French and Japanese. With a huge round of applause, please welcome Mr. Manmohan Sadhna. A louder round of applause, please.
Good evening. Namaste to all of you all. Because of my health reasons, I'll take the liberty of sitting and speaking with all of you all. Healing Strength is a book which is partly autobiographical and partly fiction. It was conceptualized during my tenure in Tokyo when I was posted there by the government of India. But when I came back and started putting my pen to paper, I realized that working for the government had made my language totally bureaucratic, and I would have never completed this project. So I joined the Faber Academy in London for a one-year course on novel writing. Though I had a background of post-graduation in English literature, it took me some time to come back to the language which is written by the authors. This book was endorsed by the Government of India, Ministry of External Affairs, as well as the Japanese government, and it was released on the 70th year celebrations of diplomatic relations between the two countries. It has nothing to do with foreign affairs, external affairs. It's a work of fiction. It's a love story. The autobiographical elements are based on a 9 Richter scale earthquake which took place in Japan and which created substantial damage to the nuclear reactors. And the nuclear reactors were at the point of bursting. As far as the protagonist is concerned, he suffers from a fatal disease called Takayasu arthritis. As his arteries at 9 places are at the point of bursting. His disease has no cure, as per the Japanese doctors and the doctors world over. So the book starts at this note, and as it progresses, it teaches and proves that at times there are many things which have more power than the modern medicine, and that is music. The protagonist of this novel picks up an antique mandolin and is taught by the teacher, Japanese teacher, quite aged, who doesn't speak any English or any Indian language, and our student doesn't speak any Japanese. Music is the language between the teacher and the student. The total communication takes place between the two of them in music. And how the book progresses and leads to a platonic relationship between the two, resulting in a cure of the disease, where disease also loses in front of music. So I leave it up to you all to go through it, and I won't like to reveal the nitty-gritties of the book, but the book portrays a lot about Japanese society, their resilience at the time of earthquakes, how do they react to an earthquake. For example, I'll give one from my personal life. When the 9 Richter earthquake took place and the nuclear reactors had been shut down, there was an electricity shortage in Japan. So the government decided on load shedding. They decided that there will be load shedding electricity in Tokyo and other cities for 8 hours a day. But after a week they realized that there was no need for load shedding because the Japanese citizens were switching off their lights for 12 hours a day. This is the nationalism which is ingrained in the Japanese society. I had a steno who used to work for me who was a Japanese, and the Japanese decided that due to the earthquake, they'll work 2 hours extra without any payment. So when I was leaving around 6 o'clock, I found my steno still working. I said, why are you working? He said, we have taken a decision that we'll be working 2 hours extra so our country can build itself once again. But I said, you work for the Indian government, why should you work? She said that if everybody thinks this way, how can our country progress? Another example of it is any crisis takes place in a country, we start hoarding things, hoarding eatables. I went to buy some bananas from the shop because the earthquake had just taken place. So I said, jitne hain utne de do, because I'm a vegetarian. The shopkeeper tells me, I just have 10 of them, you can take 4, it'll help somebody else. So this is the type of society which is portrayed in this book. And my thanks to Yukioto. They have published it in Japanese and French, and it is being released today. Once again, thank you, Kyoto. They are doing a human service now with the translation coming up. They also did a human service by making a film out of my book titled Bablu. It was a short story. So they are moving, and now they are moving into graphic novels and comics. My all the best to you, Kyoto. Thank you for your patient listening. Thanks once again.
Sadhana. We move on to our final outdoor session of the day, those broken whispers. The Broken Whispers is all about the day-to-day affairs and the short stories that we keep having in our lives. There are so many instances when we think of saying something to someone but do not say that and later remember that lost moment. At times, speaking our heart out with a mere whisper can even do wonders. We call our authors one by one for their readings. May we have Sahib S.K. Tanvi here. Okay, moving on. Rajat Chandra Sharma. Yeah. Please put your hands together for Mr. Rajat Chandra Sharma.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So I have one small short story that was included in the part 1 of this Broken Whisper. It was not a genuine thing, actually. This is a fiction. during your teenage period, I think everybody has some kind of crush on somebody, knowingly or unknowingly, and they just uh, being happy seeing that particular person, but did not dare to call him or her because of the internal fear. It is a kind of infatuation practically. It is not love or something, but whenever you get some kind of interesting characters or interesting somebody is good in studies, somebody is good in look, so people want in their minds that some kind of likings are developed, and most probably everybody have these kind of small incidents which they did not have the guts to tell to their partners or something like that. Similar matter has been brought in my story. The one particular person, he is fallen in love with one beautiful girl, but he did not have the courage to tell or propose to her, and he was happy looking her from a distance and always trying to find out somewhere or other and know all the points where he can see her, but never have the guts to meet. But one fine morning, he met the girl, but she was coming with somebody else, and she called him and introduced to the new man as her boyfriend. So he has a very tragic situation there. He have everything for her, and ultimately because the delay in communicating, ultimately he missed the bus. Similar repeated incidents are sometimes happening, but fortunately for this person, in the second attempt with a second girl, he was successful. That because he has taken the risk in the second time of calling or proposing her with his mastering all his courages. So this is the small part of the story. I try to explain in a smaller way, and if you read, maybe it may be interesting for you also, because everybody having this kind of incidences in their teenagers. Thank you very much.
We next have a reader for those broken whispers, Mr. Ajit Wadhwa. Please put your hands together for Mr. Wadhwa.
Will you give a photograph from here? I'm sitting here. We'll collect money from you.
Thank you, friends, and good evening all. So, first of all, I would like to thank the Kyoto family for organizing such great events around the for the past couple of years, and gathering and inviting all the literati from across the country. So it's really a privilege to meet eminent writers, poets from across India and around the world. So regarding my poetry in the Broken Whispers, so I'm thankful to other authors as well. It's an anthology and the topic is like love. So my poem is a ballad. So it has all the emotions of love, the parting, the emotions of parting. It's a story like showing the love and the way they part through a suicide, a terrorist attack, when the lovers part away. So the poem goes like this. I am hoping against hope. What to expect and what not to expect. I am confused, but I have deduced this much, that love is not and has never been perfect. Love, it's a full moon tide. It gives you shots of high and bursts of low. You must have the courage to take that in your stride. It's a volcano of actions, emotions, drama and tragedy. Am I correct? Together, those dreams we shared, together at our future we stared. Beyond all my limits, for you I cared. I still remember our long walk on the beach, the dry sand scrubbing your body, and the splashes of water kissing your cheeks, and you used to melt in my arms. I still remember your fragrance, that warmth, the love that we made under those tall and rugged rocks on the strands of the sea. Only the seagulls were the witness to it. Our hearts could feel and the time could see, and then for hours, laying there on were the social coverings, but our hearts and emotions bare. I thought that it was a dream come true, that our love was unique, our love was rare, and when you decided to move abroad, I thought it was the beginning of a beautiful journey. The journey of love with many hues, the hues of excitement, joy, and separation, but I couldn't reckon it as an end to the road. And in that mix of those emotions, I remember the plane kissing the skies. My heart skips a couple of beats when my loved one leaves me, when they go away, and after a joyride, the dead end meets. With my sixth sense working overtime, can one beat the destiny and race against the time? What is the value of a human love? Our prayers, our feelings, our views. Why can't we control our destinies? Why time and again we have to hear a horrific news? It was a freedom movement for them, but suicide attack for others. The plane blasted in midair, it parts and the hundreds of dreams were in tatters. It takes just a moment and the heart shatters. My love, my life, my dreams whisked away in that black melancholic smoke, and now she lives in my dreams only, waiting for her return. I am hoping against hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwa. Next, we have Dr. Jashodhara P. I really don't think she's here. Next, for those broken whispers, I would like to invite on stage Ponang Ering Angu. Please put your hands together for her once again.
Okay, hello again. Uh, Poem, like I said, some things you don't want to tell, but you write it because you want to, make your heart more, kya bolega, empty karna, to heal yourself. You write these things. Of course, you never get healed. The hurt is always there. You never overcome it. The scars will always remain there. But still, these poems, they do help. Especially me, when I write about something, it does help me in a way. So I'll just read a little bit of it. I hope you don't get bored. I'll try to read it and you try to guess what I am trying to tell you. I'm telling a story actually. It's about a girl. So thus she grew up, all through the passing years, holding on to a pain I never did know. Twice she was forsaken, which seared her heart. She laughed when she was hurt and cried when happy. An enigma she was, but with a beautiful heart. Unknown to the world, the scars she had hidden festered and grew heavier till it burst out that day, spilling its venom on everyone she had touched. I know not the answers to the questions that arise, foaming up profusely from the depths of my pain, of what had transpired between the time that passed when she was a butterfly I once only knew, till her breath left her behind, a lifeless, broken shell. Now the twist comes, a silken scarf. So you try to understand what it means. Oh my goodness, no. Okay. A silken scarf, a fallen chair. A room full of secrets that stuck in the corners, never to be spoken, never to be shared. The night all smirking in the portending darkness, they hold the whispers that I will never know. And she lies perhaps in peaceful sleep by the riverside she once always loved, away from the demons that haunted her mind beneath the shade of the weeping willows. While late in the evenings, when the winter winds moans, whispering through those trembling leaves, I can hear her laughter ring through the pain of times that are lost now and forevermore. The moon listens quietly to my broken whispers, night after night. She dies to rise again, saying nothing, with no words to console, shining up there all the whole while, waxing and waning as the hours fall by. So, thank you so much. I just read a little part of it. Let me just tell you again, in case you didn't understand. It's about a girl, somebody I knew, a niece. She committed suicide, and it really affected me a lot. So somehow I tried to, write my pain through this poem. So these are my broken whispers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Poonam. Next we have for the broken whispers, Mr. Mitrajit Biswas. Please put your hands together for him. Nobody just put their hands together for him. Thank you.
Yeah, very good evening. I know people are tired. That's why nobody really bothered to clap. I mean, that's fine. So I'm not going to bore you guys with an excerpt of my story. So the story is basically of parallel fiction, which actually takes some inspiration from real line history. So imagine 100 years back, or maybe a bit before that, the British, they came into our place, especially Kolkata, from people who were outside Kolkata. So they said that we are going to sell you spices. And then they created a company called East India Company. And as they say in Bengali, Baki puro deshta ki kine niye chilo. So that's exactly how, the story for my part goes in. And there was a gentleman before me who is from Punjab. So Punjab, Bengal and Maharashtra, I feel, without disrespecting other states, they have had one of the highest influences in terms of the freedom struggle. Now, why am I giving you a lecture on freedom struggle? Because this is not a university class. This is a book reading session, because I tried to write on something related to a bit of mythology of Indian part and what we have in terms of the history. So I just go quickly. I'm not going to take too much of time. So the story that I have named and titled it, I've tried to keep it fancy, well, as most authors tend to do. It's known as Glory of Godavari. So let me begin. Close to the city of Paithan, in a small village called Savira Gram, which lay along the banks of the great river Godavari, lived a woman named Ila. Being cotton farmers, her family was well-to-do, but nothing amongst the richest in their area. It was the harvest season, and cotton had to be picked from the plants. The wholesalers and traders from Paithan would be arriving in just a few weeks, carrying gold and goods for barter. They would exchange what they carried for the cotton that the farmers grew. The bales of cotton had to be ready in time. Work was at its peak, but Ila was not to be found in the fields. She wasn't working. Instead, she was sitting by the banks of the great river Godavari. I am sick of this, she grunted loudly. She was lost in her thoughts. As it seemed, she was gazing beyond the horizon of the golden sunset on the river Godavari. In the meantime, her mother was standing right beside her. She was sweating, and there was clearly a sense of anger, frustration, and hopelessness, which one could see, or probably Ila could see as well. Her mother did not say a word, as she knew it was meaningless to disrupt her daughter's thoughts. It had started off late, when she would be lost in the thoughts, which she seemed to claim were very vivid, and visions from the past. They were like a collage of memories that had been haunting her recently. She had shared her experiences with her mother. It started all on a day when she was working on the cotton plantation. She was working, and it was around midday when she suddenly fainted. She was taken to the nearest village medical center, where the doctor, after examining her, said she should not have any issues. However, after 10 days, she had a seizure and she collapsed again.
This continued at least 3 times until for the last 3 to 4 days, around the time the sunset was about to happen, she would come and sit on the banks of river Godavari and would again be lost in her thoughts. She explained to her mother that she could see people. Well, I mean, I don't want to sound like the Sixth Sense guide here, but I did take inspiration from that. She was not from this place and she saw people who represented the ones, similar to the one in the era of Shivaji Maharaj, in the form of the same attire. She saw a grand temple which stood by the banks of the great Godavari. A deity like Ma Kali was right in the temple, and then there was Lord Shiva too. I'm not going to continue.
Out a tiny portion from one of my stories, so I hope you enjoy it. My story is called Lightness and Weight. There are nights when the moon gets away with murder. On such nights, I think about Count Dracula scaling his castle walls, lizard-like. Ensconced between the Carpathian mountains, he is a perfect gentleman, wishing to buy property in London. Or I think about Tagore's madman, Meher Ali, echoing, "Tafat jao, sab jhoot hai." Flee, everything is a lie. The comfortable rarely ever care for the stories of the disturbed. Art, in all its varied forms, has the disquieting power to comfort the disturbed and make the comfortable, complacent lot tremble. The moon looks down upon the mundane human creatures tonight and breaks into a ghastly grin that more closely resembles a grimace. Blood oozes from her wide lips. There is no man or woman or rabbit on the moon. Tonight, there is only a bloody warpath. The moon was a ghostly gallant tossed upon cloudy seas. The human creatures, engrossed in their self-obsessed insignificance, barely take notice. Poets look up at the moon tonight and talk of beautiful tragedy. Somebody has burnt memory into the surface of the moon. She remembers, and she will make sure that you remember. Anandita had written to me a letter that I carefully concealed. She felt like she had known me for several lifetimes before she finally met me. Anandita lived for science, for things that made sense. I lived for poetry, for words, for everything that cannot be confined by meaning. The bloodlusting moon above us had been a witness to our fight. So, a little preamble about the story. Well, I was asked to write a story for one of my college assignments, and the theme was to talk about somebody else's dream, not our dream. So I called up a friend of mine who frequently shares these weird, crazy dreams that she has. And the dream which she told me was about the moon and a metro station, which kept running without tracks, and then it reached a place where really weird, creepy things were happening. There was a bloody moon, a blood red moon, and there was a metro which never stopped, and somehow it had transparent doors. And this is just a little bit of what I remember from her dream. And I used that dream which she told me and I turned it into the story. It's a longer story, of course. I just read the beginning of it, and I hope if any of you do pick up the book, you will read that story and my other two stories, and I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. I hope you liked what you read, what you heard.
Thank you, Rajeshwari. We move on to Dimita Ketan Mehta. Please put your hands together for Dimita.
Hello, very good evening to everyone. So what do you all prefer? Shall I read out a bit or just talk about the story, as you say? Yes, okay, fine. So the title of my story is The Green Bangles. So I didn't have any green bangles, so I tried dressing myself up in green. Okay. So the story is about breaking the myth that, we always think that, okay, let me ask you a question. Which kind of marriage succeeds? A marriage by choice or arranged marriage? What do you think? Sorry? Yeah, of course, there is no criteria. So my story talks about a woman who got married by choice. Her name is Veda. But then how things develop, how things are revealed in her life, and she finds herself in a totally loveless relationship, and then how she is not able to find love, but love finds her. So this is a story about this lady, and the green bangles for her hold a symbolic meaning. So how the story kick starts with the green bangles, how they are introduced, and how the green bangles come back to her in form of love. So to demythify this, to decode this, you will have to read my story. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dimita. Next we have Kuntala Bhattacharya. Please put your hands together for Kuntala.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Nice to see some familiar faces again. Okay. And it's always nice to be in the Literary Carnival because you meet so many good authors and poets, and I heard some lovely compositions before this. So it was nice to be part of again one more anthology, Those Broken Whispers. It's volume 3. So I had written a poem here. The poem is basically, I'm going to talk some bit of what the poem is and some I'll narrate so you can relate to it. It's about a person, a lady, who is not able to express her feelings for somebody, an emotion, the feeling which she has. Though she feels the person is very close to her, but she is not able to do that. So one day she parts from that person, but those memories keep on coming to her, and she thinks whether she has been right in doing what she did in the past of not expressing her feelings, or whether she had done it. So I will just narrate some apart from the poem. It's called The Lost Day. The day is lost forever when I failed to embrace you closer. Those moments haunt with memories unforgotten. Was I in fear or I in despair? Recollecting my thoughts adrift from the present to yesteryears. Immature I was in my actions, conservative I was in my dialects. But your aura hypnotized me, and I floated with dreams leading me to a fairyland. So she was in that fairyland because the way the person was close to her, she had a feeling that definitely there was something, but maybe she failed to understand it. So one day you parted to pursue your life. I stood in dismay, struggling to believe. You coaxed me, promised to be with me, but I knew I'm left alone, my desires clipped to drown. I lost your sight and my heart sank, subduing my mind, loads of sorrow I drank. A black curtain engulfed me in its hollow burden and ruthlessly entangled me. Broken were those promises, broken were those whispers, lost were the emotions, lost were the feelings. No one to cajole my solo being, no one to wheedle my self-being, as I lay shattered, as I remain cluttered. Was I conservative? Was I an orthodox? Answers seldom arrive, and it truly chokes. Hesitations had been my barrier, fear had been my worry. Tied up in a constant war, my fate was curved in a way. Your companionship was a bliss. Lost were those traces, those memories filled with joyous blessings. I know regret is a misnomer now. Those moments are lost, I know. Still those days entice me, compelling me to entwine in its time. Today, when I sit beside the lonely window and recollect those days of joy, I ask myself, am I to deserve such sorrow? Maybe because of that lost day. Thank you so much, and it's there in volume 3. If you like it, please read through. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kuntala. Lastly, we have Sucharita Pareja for the Broken Whispers, but I really don't see her. So we'll end our session, our outdoor arena session here. We will start our high tea and we will start for the 5:30. We'll start in the indoor arena. So thank you so much for being the lovely audience. Please enjoy the high tea by our title sponsor, Incredible India, Ministry of Government. Thank you so much.